In this Java tutorial, we're learning switch statements. We'll look at how to write them, when to use them, and we'll talk about how sometimes using them isn't even an option because you can't do Boolean logic inside of them. A switch statement is kind of similar to an if-else branch in Java. There's just different situations where you might want to use one over the other. Let's type out a simple little menu that'll just get printed out to the console. This is a perfect example of a time when you might want to use a switch statement over an if-else branch, and we'll see why as we're writing it out. Let's go system.out.println, enter your menu choice and hit enter. And then we'll just type out the menu choices here. We'll go 1, play game, and I'll just copy and paste that. We'll give them the option to see the instructions or to quit. And then we'll just take in the user's option using a scanner. We'll go scnr.nextInt for the user choice. So this is a perfect example of a time when you might want to use a switch statement because there's a few different directions that the code is going to go in based off of what the user chooses, aka based off of one single value. So with the switch statement, you only use them when you're testing one single value. In our case, we have user choice. So we'll go switch user choice, and then we'll put a set of braces. And in our braces, we just put all the options that the user could enter, and we just put the word case before them. So the user could enter 1, 2, or 3. So we'll go case 1, case 2, and case 3. I don't know why Eclipse is putting them like this. I'll just indent them a little bit. I just find that looks a lot better. For case 1, after the colon, let's just put you picked play game. If we actually had a game, then we might put our play game method here, but we don't actually have a game, so we'll just put a print statement that says you picked play game. And then we just put the word break, which just shows that case 1 is over. This is the end of the code for case 1. All we did is our print statement. So whatever is in between case 1, colon, and break is going to run if the user typed A1. And then I'll just copy and paste that code that we have for case 1, and I'll put it for case 2 and case 3. And we'll just put you picked see instructions and you picked quit. And then we'll put a default case in. Default just means if the user didn't enter 1, 2, or 3. So if none of the choices above were entered, then the default code will run. And I'll just copy and paste the same thing we had up above, and we'll put that was not a choice. Let's run this and test it out. We get enter your menu choice and hit enter, and I'll just put 2, and it says you picked C instructions. If we run it again and I hit 7, then we get that was not a choice. We could do this exact same thing using if-else logic. It is really up to you which one you want to use. The advantage of a switch statement in a situation like this is that it's really simple to just look at this top line and see, okay, this next block of code is just different branches that are based off of one single value, which is the user choice. It's just very clear and concise. There's one value, and whatever happens next is going to be based off of that one value. Now let's get rid of these breaks in here just to see what happens. We'll put them back in after because we would want them in here, but we'll get rid of them for now. And we'll run it, and I'll just enter 1. So we should get you picked play game. That's what we got before when we had the breaks in there. But now we get every single option that we printed out. And that's because we don't have our breaks in there. So the break just stops the code from moving right down onto the code that's for the next case. In our example, we used an integer for the variable for our switch statement. We could use a char or a string. So we could have done something like char user choice equals scnr.next and then dot char at 0. which is just a method that grabs the very first character that got entered, since next will grab a whole word or whatever goes up to the next white space. So this will just grab us the very first char in there. And then instead of case 1, we could just put case A inside of single quotations and just do the same thing for the rest of this, case B and C in single quotes. And then I'll just change it up here to A, B, and C. So now exact same thing, this will just run based off of chars, except there's an error in here somewhere. Duplicate case, I just put 2 B's in here. So now if we run this, then it will run just the same as before, just now it's with letters instead of numbers. And we could also put string, and that would be really similar, just it would be inside of double quotes here, and we could use something like scnr.nextLine. Now let's look at an example of a time when we wouldn't really want to use a switch statement. Really quickly, we'll just write out system.out.println how many burritos were in the fridge at the start of the day. How many burritos in the fridge at the start of the day. And then we'll go num burritos start equals next int. And then we'll ask how many burritos did you eat today? And then let's say we're trying to figure out whether there's still burritos left in the fridge. So we go, how many burritos did you eat today? Did you eat today? And num burritos eaten equals scnr.nextInt, and I'll just make both of these ints. In this situation, what we want to print out, whether there's burritos left or not, is based off of a calculation that switch statements can't do. It would just be based off of num burritos start minus num burritos eaten and see if that's more than 0 to decide if there's burritos left still. But inside of switch statements, you can't do something like declaring 2 variables in here to use and then using them inside of our switch statement. So we can't do like if-else logic in here. The word for the logic that we use inside of our if-else conditions is Boolean logic, and you can't do Boolean logic inside of switch statements. So we could do something like switch num burritos eaten, and then just say like case 15, then we'd print out, wow, that's a lot of burritos. Because that's just based off of one value, which is num burritos eaten. But as soon as we try and enter a second value into the picture and start doing some Boolean logic with it, then we have to use if-else branches. We can't use a switch statement. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I'll put lots of awesome Java resources in the description. Have an awesome day.